All right, week 2 for our podcast, the podcast you didn't know you ever needed. So this week has been an interesting week. I'll kick off with a story that I had. It's an interesting marketplace at the moment, that's for sure. And for the
Indeed.
first time in a very long time, I actually had buyers who were successful on a property go to contract, sign the contract, and then got buyer fear set in and they actually pulled out on cooling off. Have you ever had anyone do that for you, Vano?
No, definitely not the time you want to be pulling out first and foremost on calling out because there's obviously some costs involved there.
Yeah,
Being
it was a
teachers
really
were in,
weird one.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and look, it all came down to they're young. They
yeah,
are even cash buyers.
yes.
They're sisters. And I'd got them
Lots
an
of
amazing
opinions,
deal. Sorry?
lots of opinions, and different people.
Of
Yeah,
course, but mostly the media had
yes,
scared them off, and the
yeah,
media was the one that was there. It didn't matter how much our job is to be a guiding hand and to
very much so.
help people through the buying process and ensure that they do feel confident and comfortable in the choices that they are making.
Hmm.
And so, even though we'd got to that point for the purchase to actually transact, we also had on the seller's side, they had a solicitor who wanted to stick their fingers in and do some crazy wording, which meant that the girls had an entire weekend for
Yes,
their brain to be ticking over before it
bit of
was meant for
fear and
them.
panic creeping in just unnecessarily,
It was
really.
just, yeah, and just things like, so then they had a whole weekend of thinking about it. They still signed on the Monday morning, but by
Yeah.
Monday night, they were like, we want to pull out. And their calling off time had actually expired. So
Hmm.
there was a potential there for them. Unfortunately for them, they didn't get their penalty charged to them, and that's a case by case basis. However, the agent then went ahead and said to me, obviously, do I have another client for it? I
Hmm.
didn't at that stage. He sold it 2 days later for $17,000 more than what I paid for it.
So I mean, they would have already had that there. I mean, that's how quickly the market moves. And I mean, look,
Mm,
for me, I look back over that, and obviously, you were keeping me up to date during that whole process. And for me, where the confusion lies is that obviously people are engaging us and wanting to lean in on our expertise, and then at that pointy end of a deal, to then have these questions and I mean, that's also again why we like to work with certain people in trusted advisors in other spaces as well. As soon as other people's opinions start coming in on these transactions and a little bit of doubt creeps in, it can fester and turn into something way bigger than it needed to
yeah,
be
I
in the
think the
first
most
place.
important thing there on this one, though, was it doesn't have anything to do with the market shifting. That was purely my negotiation skills. So within that time
100%.
frame, that wasn't a market shift. That was what I had been able to get on paper with the agent, what we'd been able to
Yeah.
come with. I already knew the agent. The agent knows me and wants to work with me. And then, of course, now the buyer regret that the girls
Mm.
have because they've come back straight away and gone, well, hang
Hang
on a
on.
minute. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, and yeah, look, I think a lot of the time it's really hard for people. It's so much money. It's
Hmm.
so much of an investment for people to take the advice that we're trying to give them. And then obviously the skill that we see with the negotiation process. You'd managed to absolutely kill it on the weekend before
Yeah.
with securing for our clients the weekend before. I've been able to do it with this one, and then their own clients bought themselves undone. It's
Yes.
kind of weird what happens out there,
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean,
yeah,
and then to touch on like that deal last weekend, that was a cracker as well. Like the permanent place of residence, we had spent a lot of time, as we always do, like really narrowing and zeroing in on what we feel the property was worth, but what we feel we can get a deal done for, because that's the most important bit. There's the property value in it and its actual worth, but we always tell clients immediately we have to pay more than someone else. We're always going to be trying to get you and will get you the very best deal possible on it. But we went with a great number, held firm from the beginning, and were able to go through. And they came back, and it's great to have a back and forth and have an actual conversation and a negotiation. But we knew where it should be, and we were able to stand behind that and get it done. I mean, they're absolutely wrapped. To be buying in the area that we bought in at that price, happy days for everyone involved.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting thing. Like the selling agents have got their job to do, which is
Yes.
to get as much money for the person selling as possible, 100%. But you also want to get deals that are going to get to conclusion. It is very, very rare for, I
Yes.
think in 4 years, there's been maybe 5 contracts I've pulled out from.
Yeah.
I would say 3 of those were building and pest reasons, which are totally reasonable. This one, which was an interesting time in the market. And the other one was actually a finance where one of them had just actually lost their job in the process of it all transpiring.
Life happens.
Life happens sometimes. But, out of the 70 odd properties that I've purchased just even this year, the batting average is pretty good. But what I find fascinating is when you see the real estate agents putting up their and it's a marketing tool for themselves, obviously, because they're looking for their next house to sell. Record number, street record, complex record. I'm like, that's not really the number we as a buyer want to be seeing.
But as you said, it's a bit of a marketing spin. You look at nearly every sale across Brisbane at the moment in the greater region. It's like everyone's a record because the prices have screamed along so far. Is that actually a reflection of they've done an amazing job getting a price? Like, yes, there are amazing, and we always will call out and champion agents that are doing a great job. Just like on our side, we want them to be doing the same for us. But the market out there is dictating a lot of the pricing and these inflated numbers that are happening, and the numbers are what they are.
Yeah, they are. It's interesting though that there's been definitely a massive shift, and I know we talked about it last week, but this week I almost had to get to a point where I just wasn't answering my phone for agents' numbers that were calling.
You got someone to buy?
3 weeks ago, good luck getting anyone to even reply to you or respond to you. And now I've got my phone is running off.
It's flipped a little bit. Yeah.
It's flipped a lot. And which is really interesting. I think we are definitely seeing a shift, although we've still got some investors that are buying. They are now more focused on cash flow more than anything. I think that's the bit of the change there. But like the home buyers who are looking for their forever home, still as much in the market as they ever were. That hasn't changed. But from an investment standpoint, you can definitely feel that there is a shift in the market there. And whereas before you could go and throw a flag out the front of a property and it would be sold the next day, I think that's slowing down a little bit. That does not mean that the pricing itself is slowing down. I think we will see an adjustment, and I think we will see a bit of a calming down of the market, which I think it's actually needed. Like we all know the property market moves in cycles. I think it's time for Brisbane to take a bit of a breath. We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of infrastructure.
It can't keep going like that all the time. We've seen it in other markets, and it will. It has to sort of plateau a bit.
Yeah, and I think they're definitely feeling the squeeze in Sydney. They're definitely feeling the squeeze in Victoria, but they have been for a while anyway. In Brisbane, there are less people at each of the opens
Mm.
definitely felt that. However, the people that are there aren't window shopping, they're there to buy.
Very much so. And I mean, just to touch on that in relation to the investors, it's like just because that element may have slowed down a bit, if anything, it's just creating a bigger opportunity for people that are looking for their place to live in.
100%.
And that's what we're seeing. And at least, and you know, touching on the price point side of things, the vendors' expectations haven't dropped in
No,
a few weeks. Like it's not going to
no.
happen over that amount of time.
It will
Um,
have to start though.
it, oh, definitely. But I think what we need to be thinking about in that regard is it's not necessarily like, oh, great, we're going to run out there and get a bargain today. But what it has enabled us to do, and that we are already seeing, is that we're having a negotiation
Yes.
instead of all the chips being in the
Agreed.
seller's hands and
Agreed.
us wanting to scramble around and they hold all the power. There's a little bit more give and take and a little
If
bit
you
more
know how to do it well.
conversation.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what we need in order to get deals done. If it's all the power on that side, that's when we're like, oh, well, yeah, we sort of get left a little bit going, well, you know, is this property going to stack up for them in that long term? Is it going to have that value behind it? But, you know, now that we've got a little bit more of that back and forth, we're able to at least really go in there strong and know that we're front and center with a strong offer from the get go.
Yeah. So that was the week that was. Another interesting one. Let's see what adventures we'll get up to next week.
Definitely. See you next week, guys.